Tori Mondello, and I'm doing my research presentation on Kabuki Theater of Japan. Professor Kula Tilaka Kumar Singhe of the University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka once said, "Kabuki theater is so vivid, spontaneous, and dynamic that it throws open a door and gives us a clear view of the Japanese people, customs, and art." In my research, I've learned that any moment of theater in which the intention is to convey supremacy of one character over another character is a perfect place to insert a mie. In this presentation, I hope to outline the controversy of Kabuki theater, examine the mie, overview the movie Mulan, and apply my research to it. The following information comes from the Kabuki Theater of Japan by A.C. Scott, the Japanese Performing Arts Resource Center online, and World Theater Traditions online, and other sources that I haven't cited yet. So Kabuki began in the early 17th century in Kyoko by Izumo no Okuni, a female temple dancer. It flourished in the Tokugawa period from 1603 until 1867. The government required that only men perform Kabuki theater in 1653, in which it developed into a more serious art form. Before 1653, it was performed by female and male homosexual prostitutes, and these performers formed traveling troupes in order to gain interest in the theater across the country. Because of the lawlessness and social inversion of Kabuki theater, there were many local prohibitions, and finally, in 1629, there was a national ban on women's Kabuki. The art form itself didn't use scripts, per se, in the way that modern theater does. In modern theater, a lot of the scripts are very stick-to-it and not able to fluctuate depending on how the actor's feeling. In early Kabuki theater, the scripts were less important. It was more about the physicality and what the actor wanted to convey. Therefore, lines often changed, which gives it more of an improv factor. In 1680s, it was deemed necessary to stage a successful play. You have to have a script. There are two different types of Kabuki plays: historic Jidaimono plays, which are pre-Edo and often were about the samurai conflicts, and domestic Sewamono plays, which were about more contemporary world issues. When Kabuki developed into a more serious art form, actual theaters were built. These were modeled off of the no stage, but they were wider and deeper, and there was also a ramp behind the stage that the audience couldn't see in order to allow convenience for actors entering and exiting the stage. There was also a curtain that separated different acts of the shows. Some certain characteristics about Kabuki theater that sets it apart from others are certain music used, there are classic plays that are repeatedly performed, and makeup that's easily recognizable. Even if somebody has no idea what Kabuki is, they'll still recognize the makeup. And finally, an acting style called the mie. A mie is a rise of feelings that are often performed by tachiyaku, which are virtuous men. These actors employ large movements, wide hands, and emphasize their physical abilities in the arigato role, but in the Sewamono role, there is only a slight gesture, like a gentle pull of the chin, to convey emotion rather than the physicality. Within the mie, it's broken down into a bunch of different types of mie. So for example, the genraku mie is when the right hand stretches horizontally and the left hand bends and the left foot takes a large step forward. This is often used to convey power and was discovered by the first generation of Kabuki actors, which is often called Ichikawa danjuros. Other types of mie include the opa slash, in which an actor throws a stone, the heaven and earth mie, in which one actor is higher and one actor is lower, and the hashira makino, in which the actor winds his limbs around a pillar or some other type of tall pole. Costuming in Kabuki made mies very difficult. Costumes were made in order to showcase the design of fashion designers rather than to make it well for actors to move. So these costumes are often described as straitjackets, and they require incredible force to move limbs. This obviously poses a challenge to mie actors since, especially in the arigato mies, they have extreme physicality to convey emotions. This is contrasted to modern day dance due to the fact that modern day dancers often wear light clothing that have the ability to move around very easily, but Kabuki does not have that. Yeah. So, my moment of theater that I chose is from Mulan. I chose this movie because it has Eastern roots, which goes along with kabuki Japanese theater. It also employs similar themes to what kabuki would perform. So in Mulan, a young girl unlawfully takes her father's place in a war. In doing so, she ends up training to be one of the best soldiers in the Imperial Army and saves her general's life multiple times. This theme of illegal action in the army, women going into the army when they aren't supposed to, is the kind of unconventional, eccentric theme that would be employed on a kabuki theme, and the government would not want to send across that message, which goes along with the idea that it was banned. So in that way, I think the theme really works with kabuki in general. I chose a specific moment, which you'll see in a moment, because Mulan proves strength over Shen Yu, her villain.
You took away my victory.
No! I did.
The soldier from the mountains.
So as you can see in that clip, you had Shen Yu, the main villain, accusing, forget his name, the boy, what? Shen, of taking away his victory. And then Mulan throws a stone at him, and then confesses that it was her. Afterwards, you see that Shen Yu recognizes that she was the same soldier that he once fought before. So, in this video, Mulan pulls her hair back so Shen Yu recognizes her as a soldier he fought before. If replaced by a Mie, a similar interaction would be needed earlier in the show, so it would be that in the first interaction between Mulan and Shen Yu, she would perform the same Mie that I'm going to perform in a moment, in order to ensure that the recognition of Mulan as that same actor would still remain. So, I chose to perform this scene with the Genraku Mie because it is about power over one's enemies, and that's exactly what Mulan is doing right now. So, in order to do this, I broke the scene down in which she throws the stone, he confronts her, and then she does the Mie. So to do this, it would be he confronts her, and then, no, I did Mie. As you can see, this is a Genraku Mie because my right arm is outstretched, my left arm is bent at the elbow, and I did take that big step with my left hand. This would also be accompanied with a large head swing in order to truly convey the emotion. So it would be more like something like that. I related the kabuki, and especially the Mie, to the comedy unit that we did because actors are required to use grand or slight gestures in order to accentuate the comedy in the scene. In this case, quoted by Ms. Bosford, but in the case of kabuki theater, instead of employing the comedy in the scene, they would emphasize power over one's enemies. This is especially prevalent in Genraku because it has very exaggerated physicality, such as comedy actors. From researching this, I have strengthened the ideas that vocals aren't necessarily needed to employ a very powerful moment. Often in Mies, most Mies do not have words accompanied to them, and they are often the most impactful moments of the show due to their high intensity. I also strengthen the understanding that facial expressions are very important, as in the Mie, one would use their face to convey an extreme emotion, such as crossing the eyes to show anger. And facial expressions, I've learned, are a very good way of expressing emotion, especially in the Sewamono Mies, when they didn't use grand expressions, they just used the gentle tug of the chin. These facial expressions would speak miles for what the actor's physicality could not do. Yeah!